Is it still going on?
Oh, yeah. On Twitter, maybe not so much anymore. Maybe we're just not seeing it. But on Reddit, everybody's still going.
So why don't you tell our listeners what exactly is Dear NRS?
Actually, I think you might have a better description as to how it got started. As far as I know, this hashtag just appeared on Twitter of people saying Dear NRS and then saying criticisms of, well, NRS, MK11, just general sort of criticisms in relation to MK11, really.
There was a Reddit post by Malgover, and the title was Dear NRS hashtag on Twitter. And this was in the Mortal Kombat subreddit.
Okay.
He says, our community Discord server, 350 plus members, and subreddit, 12.5 thousand members, have started a new hashtag called Dear NRS. We will use it to respectfully voice our complaints and demands to NRS, but we also need your help. You can tell them what you think about the game's current state, open your hearts, and make yourself heard, as long as you don't look like a Melina Twitter stan. MK11 is a fantastic, albeit very, very flawed game, and both NRS and Ed have been silent about its issues for too long. Pro and casual players alike are slowly but surely leaving the game, and no additional characters or KP2 will fix the problem in the long run. And NRS needs to hear this. Thank you to whoever participates. I personally think it's worth giving a shot. And that is the first real kind of post about it that I saw. Of course, I wasn't in either of the Discord server when this was discussed, so I'm not sure where it all began. But the earliest signs of it I saw were the Reddit post.
I heard about it from you, after which point I started seeing posts on Reddit and the like. And I don't know if you know about the you must do, the Mortal Kombat Leaks subreddit.
Yeah.
So there's people still complaining on there as well. Although many of them are saying, shake it up, but be as respectful as possible. And that's nice to see from the community, because we really don't need overly aggressive, toxic, insults towards them through the use of this hashtag.
That's funny, because that's a big part of this hashtag usage, is that you haven't seen a lot of toxic, I guess is the word that most people use, because everybody that's used this hashtag has, for the most part, been very respectful of NRS and just kind of voiced some of their complaints with the game and things that they've been asking to flesh out, like things like the a Wi-Fi filter, for example, things like some of the gameplay.
More customization slots.
Yes, exactly. So it hasn't been, everybody saying, Dear NRS, where's Melina? Or Dear NRS, why did you mess up Sindel?
One of the things that really got the fire started, I guess, with this hashtag was the claim that community manager Tyler Lansdowne was blocking people for sharing negative feedback or even just tweeting at him with the Dear NRS hashtag. And as far as I've seen, some of the blocks were not actually really justified if the tweets said what they said, So
have you actually seen some of these blocks?
I've seen people posting screenshots that they've been blocked by him. As for what they specifically said, I'm not 100% sure, but they've insisted that they were actually quite polite and they were just voicing negative feedback as to the communication from NRS and the like. And I've seen many other Twitter users actually backing this up. So it's kind of concerning if the community manager, who's meant to be in touch with the community, is blocking people for sharing, anything negative about the studios or the game.
And that's because, of course, we don't have any one-on-one experience with that. They haven't blocked either of us, so.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm looking at one tweet and they said, take a look at the replies and quote tweets. Tell me what you see. I say what everyone else is saying about NRS. I just got blocked for it.
That's not good.
That's worrying. That's very worrying, especially right now when so many people are even we have voiced our concerns about Tyler. He genuinely seems like a great guy. But in terms of his actual role with NRS as community manager, I have not seen much from him at all. And that is really contributing to this negative feeling with regards to the communication from NRS. He's meant to be the one who engages with us. And as far as I could tell, the last post from him was 4 months ago or so on Reddit. That's his last activity, full stop, apparently, on Reddit. And anytime he actually responds to anyone from about Mortal Kombat on Twitter, it's either an FGC member or somebody who's very well known, or Ed Boon, or somebody that Ed Boon has already replied to. So what's the point?
Yeah, and not only that, but most of his tweets and stuff are sports-based tweets, and not even fighting games community sports or esports. They're usually baseball and football tweets out.
Yeah, one big thing, I remember this about a year and a half ago or something, right around when MK11 was releasing or had been released. And somebody tweeted at him saying, you should make a work Twitter for this. And he's like, nah, I'm going to keep using my personal Twitter. Thanks very much. Something along those lines. And now one of the biggest criticisms is that he's using his personal Twitter. Like, sure, man, you want to tweet sports and everything? Of course, you know, it's your personal account. But bear in mind that your personal account also is our connection to NRS in a way. You are the community manager. So if you are going to be tweeting about sports and everything constantly, you're going to need to throw in some Mortal Kombat once in a while and actually respond to those in the community who are reaching out to you. You know, like everybody always says, be grateful for getting these games and everything. Yeah, I am grateful for Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat also needs to be grateful to the fans. And if we're not getting communication, then that is another way of just kind of slapping everybody in the face. And that's honestly what it seems like the community feels like as a whole currently.
Yeah, and you know, we recently broke this down even further with our most recent Realmcast episode starting James Fink. The big part of the problem is an absence of a community leader or one who only focuses on the tournament players and rather than fans. I think James said it best on our most recent Realmcast episode. He said, you're selling millions of copies of this game. They aren't all esports players. They're normal people who are reaching out with regular concerns.
Exactly. The majority of your consumers are not FGC players. They are just consumers who like the game, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to be focusing on the FGC and only reaching out to them and only interacting with them, you are going to be alienating the rest of the fans who care about the game. And that is not a good look. And obviously now we're feeling the repercussions.
Even Ed Boon, who, of course, does his trolling and things like that, he at least keeps updated posts on the game. He talks about the game, he interacts with his fans and answers questions. That seems like something the community manager should do, since that's what they're kind of paid to do.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it's kind of weird to see Tyler usually only respond to people about MK when Ed has already done it. Now, people can say, well, look, Ed Boon is constantly tweeting about personal stuff as well as Mortal Kombat. And I'll say, yes, that's true. However, firstly, there is a big difference. I'm sorry, but there is. He's the creator or co-creator of Mortal Kombat, you know? He's not in that same position where he needs to be constantly working on the game himself at this point in time, right? Tyler's role is the community manager. He needs to be engaging with us constantly. Okay, not constantly. I'm not expecting constant stream of communication. I'm expecting consistent communication. And I'm not seeing that at all. To be fair, I don't want to be unfair here towards Tyler. It's not only him. We've not really had much communication from NRS until recently with Ed Boon's Clues. And even then, we went on a sort of drought with them for a while. But, you know, like at least we're getting some form of communication. And I just wish that NRS would understand that that's all the fans want.
Well, so the big question is, who is supposed to communicate with the fans? Is it the Mortal Kombat Twitter account? Is it Ed Boon? Is it Tyler? Like, who do you need to follow to find out information about Mortal Kombat the game? Who is it that you need to talk to for communication? Again, on the recent episode, James said a good point. If you reach out with a question or concern, the response should not be contact WB game support with this question. It should be trying to find the answer for you, give you some help, because that's the whole point of communicating to your fans. That's what you're paid to do. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to just direct them to a website where you're going to get some automated response. You would need help right now. You have questions right now. We all want answers.
Exactly. And you also raise a good point about WB. A lot of people are saying that, well, you can't blame NRS. It's WB. I believe it's a bit of both. Now, yes, I'm sure NRS can't say everything. They can't announce everything because of this. But at the same time, they are still able to communicate with us. You know, that saying, oh, it's WB's fault really is not actually that true. You know, NRS are able to engage with us outside of announcing stuff. And your point about who do we need to follow? It makes no sense. We have the MK page for official announcements. We have Ed Boon for hints. We have Tyler for what?
So that's the thing is, you know, I don't expect there to be new announcements. I don't expect there to be new combat packs even. Only thing I really expect is some of these concerns with the game to be addressed. And I don't mean concerns like we need to nerf Shiva's stomp attack. Like, I mean like real concerns like, hey, you know, we have people beating us in Combat League because their connection has timed out and we're just wasting time on these things because they have Wi-Fi connection. That's something that should have been taken care of a long time ago. That's something that should have been addressed, but it hasn't been addressed. We got thousands, millions of players that are finding bugs in the game, and those types of bugs that are impacting our gameplay are not getting addressed. I think that's what most of this hashtag has been used for.
Yeah, what we want to see is actual improvement to the game. It doesn't need to be constant content, as you're saying. We need to see stuff fixed. Again, on the same topic as what you were saying, I'm seeing people complain about broken gameplay mechanics. People have been complaining about Breakaway for how long? And they addressed it with Aftermath. Of all things, that's over a year since the game released, and why is it taking that long to address these sort of concerns? And then when you even do address them, don't even address them properly. Like, nobody's happy with the little armor break mechanic. It's a big change, but it didn't actually fix the problem about breakaways. And we just want to see these sorts of things addressed.
Another thing too is this hashtag has been used to thank NRS for all the hard work that they've done and for everything that they have put into the game, which, I mean, we're not undermining that with what we're saying here. It's not like, dear NRS, your game sucks. It's, dear NRS, we've been asking you for some help here and you guys haven't addressed it. I mean, we love Mortal Kombat. Everybody involved in this community loves Mortal Kombat. That's why we play it. That's why we buy it. That's why we criticize it. Game. Yep, and that's why we criticize it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think these are all valid concerns. Like, if you just search through the hashtag on Twitter or go through on Reddit, you see so many valid things being brought up. One
thing I did want to mention was NRS have sort of addressed the fact that they have not been very good with their communication in the past. I don't remember who tweeted it specifically. It might have been Ed, but it was a tweet along the lines of "will be better," and that was about the communication.
That's right. I think that was actually from the official Mortal Kombat account.
Was it?
I think it was around the release of one of the combat packs, or Aftermath, one of the two.
As far as I've seen, they've not been better. They've really not, and that's really worrying. So other issues is like that I can see that have been brought up are Combat League issues with the Wi-Fi filters you mentioned, the point system. God, even I dealt with that today. I finally got some free time to play a bit, and I want to get the Demigod skin. And man, like, I won one game. Great, I just won 10 points. I lost the next game. I lost 120 points. I'm literally 10 steps back from that previous game. You know what I mean? Or more, actually, 12 steps back. Yeah. But it's ridiculous. And this is something that we've been complaining about since the beginning. Balance issues. The last balance patch was months ago. Gameplay issues, pokes, grabs. Like, everybody's been joking that MK11 is poke combat or grab combat, lack of new content. Okay, I'll give that a slide because we can't expect constant content, and we have to remember we are in a pandemic, right? So it is difficult for them to bring out new content. But the biggest thing I'm seeing is lack of transparency and communication with the fans. People are saying, we're your fans, not your enemies. It's not. We're trying to make the game better. We want you to make the game better. We want to love it. There's a huge reason that MKX still has such a huge player base in comparison to MK11. I myself preferred the gameplay change aspect that they were going for with MK11, making it slower and more methodical, but it wasn't handled properly because in the end, everybody's got a 50-50, the pokes, it's just everything's ruined it. And so I find myself enjoying MKX more. And if they actually address these issues, which people have been talking about since the game dropped, then we wouldn't have as much to complain about. We have no roadmap. We have barely any information,
Yeah.
Just say something. That's it. That's all we want. Say something.
So do you expect a roadmap for Mortal Kombat?
A roadmap, definitely not, because that would be setting a precedent that they would not be able to follow along with it based on, say, NDAs, the contracts falling apart, as it seems to be going on with, say, Ash Williams, stuff like that, So I don't see how any roadmap can be provided if they can't stick to their own plans. And fair enough, but at least say the roadmap is we're trying to have this completed by this point. We're trying to have some information for you by this point. Any form of communication is good communication. Even if it's to tell us, look, we're sorry, we can't actually get this out by this month. It's going to be next month. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, how much do you think the game is still being developed, I guess? How much do you think it's still going into patching it and updating it at this point? Because how far along? I mean, when did Mortal Kombat 11 release?
April 2019.
So it's been over a year since the game has come out. And, usually we see a new NetherRealm Studio game every 3 years. So we know that they've been working on other things. So how much time and energy do you think they're actually putting into Mortal Kombat 11 at this point?
The biggest problem is I can't answer that because we cannot tell. We have literally no indication as to that question. We don't know if they're actually working on it. We don't know where they are with it. There's no way to understand where they are. Like, here's another tweet by at Dr. Purpleman. Hashtag Dear NRS, you guys claim to listen to fan feedback daily. So why not post polls on the at Mortal Kombat account weekly? Questions like, are you satisfied with the Combat League gameplay experience? Then taking note of the responses. Seems like an easy way to collect fan feedback to me. And that tweet was a direct response to Tyler's tweet from August 20th saying, we listen to fan feedback daily. Do you? Are you listening and not doing anything in response?
Yeah, they listen. They see it all. They don't respond to it or don't acknowledge it. The reason they don't do fan polls and things like that is because there are going to be way too many people who respond negatively. There's too many gripes with Mortal Kombat 11. It's interesting because even Mortal Kombat X, I feel like, didn't have this many complaints to it. You could say, well, it's just because the fan base has become toxic, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's something else going on here. Maybe there are other aspects of the game that fans have kind of turned against because the fan base didn't react like this with Mortal Kombat 9. You didn't see so many people getting upset, and we had just as much access to the developers and things like that through Twitter. So, dear NRS, maybe there's another reason that people are upset about Mortal Kombat 11.
I guess my hashtag here would be hashtag Dear NRS. You say you listen to fan feedback daily. Can you actively listen to fan feedback daily instead?
Yeah, well, make sure you put asterisks around actively.
I mean, here, we know at Losty Girl or at Lost Y Girl, I never know how to say it, but she is a big supporter of NRS. She's a big player for MK11. And she's saying, I love your games a lot. I wish there was more communication with the fan base about acknowledging some things that need changes in the game. For example, Combat League. It would be better if there was Wi-Fi / a laggy matches filter. You see, even people who are really big supporters of MK11 and NRS are still having issues with the communication. And that is extremely telling.
Well, people like that too, these are WB's golden children, the YouTubers. The ones that, they communicate with more than anybody else. So the fact that their YouTubers are joining in on this hashtag definitely goes to show how big of a problem there is right now.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to make clear, I know that we spoke a lot about Tyler, and that's nothing against Tyler. As I said at the start, we think he seems like a great guy, but he's a community manager. Now, maybe he's doing what he's being told, but if that's the case, what is the point of the community manager role itself? Right? If you are telling him to do something specific and this is the actual product of what he is doing and what you've told him to do, then we're unhappy with what you've told him to do.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point, it comes back around to who is responsible for the game. Is it Warner Brothers? Is it NRS? Because whichever it is, they are making NRS look bad.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And here's another one. Hashtag Dear NRS. Communication is key to maintaining a stable fan base, and you guys are doing a very poor job at doing so. A lot of fans are begging for content, and all we get in return are troll tweets and silence. It's getting to the point where fans are giving up and moving on to new games.
Yeah, it really is. Street Fighter came out before or after Mortal Kombat 11?
I'm not actually sure.
I don't play Street Fighter, but
neither.
I noticed a lot of fans were kind of switching over to Street Fighter because of how much they have put into that game and how they continuously support it.
It's from 2016.
Is it? Okay.
Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, so that's crazy that, you have Mortal Kombat fans switching over to these other games, which some are even older than Mortal Kombat because of the support and because their developers are still putting into that game. While NRS, our golden goose, like our golden child, this is the game that we're all fans for, doesn't get that kind of support.
Yeah, that's really it. Honestly, we just want some communication, guys. We don't want people being aggressive towards NRS. We don't want people being toxic. But at the same time, the lack of communication itself is extremely alienating. You are not maintaining the fan base that you have currently, which you are lucky to have, let's be real here. The fan base is huge for Mortal Kombat, and without it, there is no Mortal Kombat. But at the same time, it goes both ways. So we're communicating with you. Communicate in response to us as well, please. All right, so thanks for joining us for this Tarkatan Bitesize episode. We know it's a bit of a heavy topic with Dear NRS, but we definitely wanted to address it and also emphasize that we should not be aggressive towards NRS, all right? Our latest episode of the Realmcast aired recently with James MK Fink, so if you haven't heard it, please do check it out. It was a lot of fun. and it has some pretty cool stuff, which we think you all might be interested in. One thing that did come up during all the tweets about our latest Roncast episode was a pretty cool quote-unquote fan art by @LuckyLuxa, and that's technically the Roncast's first sort of fan art, so thanks. A little shout out there. Anyway, let us know what you think of the Dear NRS hashtag. Do you think that we're being too harsh? Do you think NRS's communication could be better? Let us know. And please like, follow, subscribe to stay up to date. Thanks.